Imagine a 19-year-old woman who drops out of Stanford to revolutionize medicine. She promises to detect hundreds of diseases with a single drop of blood. Billionaires invest fortunes. Army generals join the board. Forbes magazine puts her on the cover as the youngest self-made female billionaire in the United States. But there was a problem. The technology never worked. Not for a single day. Elizabeth Holmes built a $9 billion empire on an absolute lie, putting the lives of thousands of patients at risk. And the scariest part? She almost got away with it. Today we will reveal how a college student deceived the most powerful men in America and turned Silicon Valley into a playground of fraud. Elizabeth Holmes was born in 1984 in Washington, D.C. to successful parents. Her father worked at USAID and in government companies. Her mother was an advisor in Congress. From a young age, Elizabeth showed a peculiar obsession. She wanted to be a billionaire. Not just rich, a billionaire. At 7 years old, she was already drawing designs for impossible machines. At 9, she said she would rather die than live an ordinary life. But here's the first warning sign that everyone ignored. Elizabeth was never a science genius. She was good at chemistry in high school, but she wasn't the brilliant prodigy she claimed to be. Nevertheless, she enrolled at Stanford in 2002 to study chemical engineering. That's where it all began. During classes, Elizabeth had an idea. What if it were possible to perform hundreds of blood tests with just a single finger prick? It seemed revolutionary. The problem? She lacked the scientific knowledge to know if it was even possible. In 2003, at the age of 19, Elizabeth dropped out of Stanford. She used the $30,000 her parents had saved for her education and founded a company called Real-Time Cures. Shortly after, she changed the name to Theranos, a combination of therapy and diagnosis. And then Elizabeth did something that would define her entire criminal career. She started lying, and lying, and lying nonstop. Theranos' promise was seductive. A small machine called Edison, named after the inventor Thomas Edison, could perform more than 200 different types of blood tests using only a few drops of blood collected from a finger prick. No large needles. No tubes full of blood. No gigantic laboratories. It seemed like magic. And that's exactly what it was. Magic, illusion, a trick. Here's the truth Elizabeth was hiding. Hematology experts knew it was impossible to obtain accurate results with so little blood. Blood collected from a finger is diluted with tissue fluids, creating inaccuracy. Furthermore, many tests simply require a minimum volume to function. Serious scientists warned Elizabeth from the beginning. She completely ignored them. But Elizabeth had a special gift. She didn't sell technology, she sold dreams. She shamelessly copied Steve Jobs. She always wore black turtlenecks. She spoke with an artificially deep voice to sound more authoritative. Later investigations revealed that her natural voice was much higher pitched. She practiced not blinking during conversations to appear more intense and trustworthy. It was all calculated theater. How did a young woman in her early 20s, without a college degree and with no real scientific experience, manage to deceive some of the most powerful people in America? The answer will shock you. She didn't sell the technology. She sold herself. And then she used the first investors as social proof to attract subsequent ones. Her first major investor was Tim Draper, a billionaire venture capitalist and friend of the Holmes family. He invested $1 million in 2004, primarily based on personal trust, not technical validation. Elizabeth then used Draper's name to attract Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle, who invested an impressive $125 million. The snowball effect had begun, but the real masterstroke was the board of directors that Elizabeth assembled. She didn't recruit scientists or medical experts. No, she recruited retired politicians and military figures. George Shultz, former Secretary of State. Henry Kissinger, a legend in foreign policy. James Mattis, a Marine Corps general. William Perry, former Secretary of Defense. These men understood nothing about biochemistry, but their names lent instant credibility. Elizabeth had a brilliant and cruel strategy. She exploited the male ego. These powerful men, accustomed to being in control, were fascinated by this young blonde woman with blue eyes who spoke with absolute conviction about revolutionizing medicine. They wanted to believe they had discovered the next Steve Jobs. Their egos wouldn't allow them to admit that they were being deceived by a college dropout. Between 2013 and 2015, Theranos reached its peak. The company was valued at $9 billion. Elizabeth Holmes, at age 30, had an estimated personal net worth of $4.5 billion. Forbes put her on its cover. She was a guest of honor at conferences. She was compared to Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, and other visionaries. But inside the company, the reality was a nightmare. Theranos partnered with Walgreens, one of the largest pharmacy chains in the United States. They installed wellness centers in dozens of stores where real patients could get Theranos blood tests. And this is where the fraud became dangerous, because it was no longer just investors losing money. It was real patients receiving incorrect test results that affected real medical decisions. Employees who discovered that the test didn't work were threatened, intimidated, and fired. Elizabeth hired the famous lawyer David Boies, known for his aggressiveness. Anyone who questioned Theranos received threatening legal letters. The company had a culture of absolute paranoia. Employees couldn't talk between departments. Everything was secret. Everything was a threat. Every fraud story has a hero. In the case of Theranos, it was Tyler Shultz, the grandson of George Shultz, the powerful former Secretary of State, who was on the company's board. Tyler was 22 years old when he started working at Theranos in 2013. He was an idealist, and he believed in the mission. But he quickly realized that something was very wrong. Tyler saw firsthand that the tests were inaccurate. He saw technicians using traditional machines from other manufacturers because the Edison machines weren't working. He saw results being manipulated. When he reported this internally, he was ignored. When he persisted, he was threatened. So Tyler did something extraordinarily brave. He became a whistleblower. Tyler contacted John Carreyrou, an investigative journalist at the Wall Street Journal, but the price was brutal. Theranos spent more than $400,000 on lawyers to pursue Tyler. His own family turned against him. His grandfather, George Shultz, chose to believe Elizabeth instead of his own grandson. Tyler had to sell everything he owned to pay for lawyers. He almost went bankrupt, but he didn't give up. In October 2015, John Carreyrou published a bombshell article in the Wall Street Journal. The hot blood testing startup struggles to defend its technology. The article revealed that Theranos was using traditional machines for most of its tests, that the results were inaccurate, and that the company was deceiving partners and investors. Elizabeth fought back. She gave interviews denying everything. She appeared on TV shows with her deep voice and piercing gaze, saying she was being persecuted. But the truth was inescapable. Other whistleblowers emerged. Former employees confirmed the fraud. The SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, began an investigation. Walgreens ended the partnership. Investors panicked. In 2018, the SEC accused Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos president Ramesh Balwani of massive fraud. Elizabeth was forced to pay a $500,000 fine and return her shares in the company, which were now worthless. Theranos was officially dissolved, but the story didn't end there. Elizabeth Holmes' criminal trial was one of the most closely watched of the decade. It lasted for months. Elizabeth claimed she was manipulated and abused by Sunny Balwani, her secret boyfriend and business partner. She cried in court, but the jury didn't buy the story. In January 2022, Elizabeth Holmes was found guilty of 4 counts of fraud. The sentence? 11 years in federal prison. Elizabeth began serving her sentence in May 2023. She will be 45 years old when she is released. But here's the part that will make you furious. Many investors never recover their money. Patients who received incorrect diagnoses suffered real medical consequences. Some had delayed cancer treatments because Theranos tests indicated false negatives. Lives were ruined. So what are the lessons? First, charisma is not competence. Elizabeth was charismatic and persuasive, but she lacked scientific knowledge. Second, independent validation is essential. Nobody independently tested Theranos technology before investing millions. Third, be suspicious when there is excessive secrecy. Legitimate medical technology companies publish studies and submit to peer review. Theranos never did that. Elizabeth Holmes' story isn't about a genius who failed. It's about a calculating manipulator who put her ambition above human lives. She didn't make honest mistakes. She deliberately lied for years, knowing that patients were receiving incorrect results. She threatened those who tried to expose the truth, and she almost got away with it. If you enjoyed this investigation, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We have many more multi-million-dollar frauds to expose. And remember, in the world of finance and technology, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. Always question, always verify, and never let charisma replace evidence. Until the next investigation.